No? No good?
I love it. Oh, it's on his nose.
Hi everyone, it's Carl here. I am here with Annie today.
Hello.
Hi. And yeah, Annie is one of my support workers. One of my newer ones.
Yeah.
I think we've been working together for about
A month or so?
about a month, yeah, about 4 weeks, a bit more. I've already trained Annie in all of the important things. Most important thing working with me is obviously making coffee.
Yeah.
So I've got a coffee over here. Can I please have some?
Yes.
This is very important with disability support work. Tastes good.
Lots
You
of froth.
still have your job. If the coffee tastes bad, people get fired. That's a joke. Kind of, maybe.
Haven't fired anyone yet, have you?
No, of course not. Anyway, today I thought we could talk about some common questions that people with disability get asked, or people without disability ask about
May want to know.
people with disability. Yeah, what people want to know.
Yeah. Do I need to bend down to talk to someone in a wheelchair?
Depends how loud your voice is.
So I
No, you don't. I mean, that's silly. Like, you don't need to bend down to talk to somebody, because, you know, as long as they can hear you, it's fine. You know, most people who use a wheelchair don't have any hearing difficulties or anything like that, so there's no point bending down to talk to somebody. I think at the same time, you know, you don't want to be standing over the top of someone. So if you're a lot taller than someone in a wheelchair, you might want to kind of keep a bit of an adequate distance so you're not kind of, you know, looking over the top of someone. So if you're a really tall person, that might be one consideration, but you definitely don't want to kind of be bending over or, you know, looking really awkward, because it's a bit condescending. And I'm really short, so I get that all the time. But it's not something that really you need to do, I don't think.
yeah, I agree with all that.
Thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't think I've done that to you.
I don't think so. But, you know, like it's something you might do to a little child.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know, just because someone's in a wheelchair, it doesn't mean they're a child. I suppose the exception would be if a child is in a wheelchair, you know, feel free to bend over. But that's about it.
Can I use accessible parking or toilets if I don't have a disability?
I mean, the easy answer is no. I mean, that's why they're kind of, you know, designated separate areas or facilities. I think, you know, the exception would be if you're literally about to vomit or have a toileting accident and there's a massive line at the toilets and there's no line at the, you know, disabled toilet or whatever. I feel like the community will be more thankful for you to go into that toilet rather than, you know, having an accident in the waiting line. But apart from that, no, I mean, that's what, you know, they're there for people with disability to use the toilets. And it's that thing where, you know, even though they might not always be used, they need to be available in case someone is around. And the same for parking. I mean, you know, parking is one of those things where, you know, people who have a disabled parking permit need it because they often, you know, can't walk as far, or, you know, might be more in danger of, you know, being hit by a reversing car or something like that. So often, you know, they need to park closer to the entry or the exit of the, you know, facilities where they park. So yeah, I think don't be an asshole. That's generally good advice. But again, if you're in labour, or you're bleeding, and there's some major drama, I think no one's gonna hate you if you park in a disabled car park. But if you're lazy, that's not really a very good excuse.
No. Leave it for me because I need it to park Carl's van.
Yeah.
Not very good at it.
Well, even me. So like, I've got a disabled parking permit, but I don't always use it because I'm pretty good at my road rules and knowing where cars are, and pretty good at driving my wheelchair and stuff. So I don't use it all the time, but it is convenient, especially for other people.
Should I push someone in a wheelchair?
Should you push someone in a wheelchair?
Yeah, that's the question.
Like push them out of the wheelchair?
Hopefully not.
I feel like that's not a very nice thing to do. I'd be a bit concerned if someone pushed me out of my wheelchair. That's generally a red flag. No, but I think the question means, should you try and push someone's wheelchair? I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think no.
And you can't even push yours anyway.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've got an electric wheelchair or a power wheelchair, and weighs about 200 kilos or something. So, good luck pushing in my wheelchair. But I mean, a wheelchair is something that helps someone get around. And if someone is in a manual wheelchair and they're pushing themselves, they don't really need your help unless they specifically ask. And it's just like, you wouldn't go up to some person and push them. You wouldn't go up to some old lady who might be struggling to walk and just start giving them a bit of a push. It just doesn't really make sense to me. So the answer is no, unless someone specifically asks you for some help. And I think the same thing is true for even leaning on a wheelchair or giving it a shake or whatever. Sometimes people play with them. I think it's fine if you know someone really well and that type of thing. But otherwise it's a bit of an invasion of personal space. So the answer is no, don't do that.
What about if someone's going up a hill and they look like they're struggling? Should you ask them if they want help? Yeah,
I suppose you can always ask someone. That's good advice. Like if you see someone struggling and you're not sure, just ask them. But that thing where ask them before you do it. I know I'm often kind of sitting somewhere in my chair, playing on my phone, waiting for someone, and people will come up to me and just ask me if I'm alright, and I don't get offended about that because I just say, no, I'm fine. But if someone, saw me sitting there and they were worried that my wheelchair wasn't working and started pushing me, then I'll probably freak out a bit and be like,
weird.
Please ask before you do something like that, yeah.
Can I date someone with a disability?
I mean, it depends if they're single or not.
True.
I mean, there's
good advice, life advice.
These questions are silly, but yeah, I mean, of course you can. I mean, if the person, wants you to, if it's appropriate to ask them out, I mean, yeah, go for it. Yep, that's a solid yes in my book. I mean, my girlfriend is, so, hello Kirsty. Yeah, it's going okay, I think, for her. Hopefully, it's going okay for me. So yeah, go for it.
How do I shake someone's hand if they only have one arm?
That's quite specific.
Yeah, it is very specific.
Well, I mean, you can put your hand out to shake it, and then if the person responds by putting their hand out to shake it back, then go for it. If someone really doesn't want to shake your hand, they might be like, oh, sorry, I can't shake your hand. And then, just kind of move on and get over it. I think the worst thing you can do is, forcefully kind of grab someone's hand. So it's like most things in life. It's okay to kind of make the offer, but don't kind of force yourself on someone, yeah. And I've got two hands, but both of them, don't work that well. And often people try and, shake my hand. It's okay if they put their hand out, I just normally tell them, sorry, I don't normally shake, and then it's fine. But yeah, sometimes people are really awkward and they kind of grab my hand, and then I'm kind of like, give them a real limp handshake, and it's a very awkward experience for both of us. So yeah, again, just ask someone, or not even ask, but kind of initiate the the gesture, and then if that doesn't work, then just retreat and give them a knowing nod or some other
wave
gesture. Yeah, it's a little hello, that type of thing. Just like
what's up?
Be like a human, yeah. What's up? Or if in the coronavirus world, we don't really shake hands anyway. So with my niece at the moment, we do a bit of an elbow bump. So that might be acceptable too, but maybe not for adults. I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, just ask or present the shake. Don't force it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask someone with a disability, how did you get your disability?
I mean, how well do you know the person? So, if it's someone that you know really well, I think, and you've already got a bit of trust and a bit of a relationship, then I think you can ask them if you want to. I think it's one of those things where, you can ask someone, but you can't really demand it of them. You don't want to, be too inquisitive and make someone feel uncomfortable. But if you just met someone, no, it's not really appropriate to ask someone that question. Mainly because it's not really relevant to anything. It's not really, useful in regards to the situation, so it's not really relevant. And think about it, if someone, is gay, you don't meet someone and say, oh, hello, how are you? My name's Carl. When did you come out to your parents? It's not really appropriate to say that, and it's the same thing. You don't meet someone and ask them how they got their disability, but it's something that you might openly share if you know someone well. And the other thing is, for some people who might have acquired their disability in later life, it might have been from a traumatic accident or something along those lines, where they don't really want to talk about it because it might bring up some trauma, and so you want to be a bit careful. So again, just be mindful that you're dealing with a person, and if it's something that you need to know, it might be okay to ask. But if you just want to know, then try and keep quiet until you really know the person really well.
Good.
They're my thoughts.
How do I talk to a deaf person?
Well, if they're actually properly deaf and they don't can't hear at all, then it depends. So they might use sign language. So if they do use sign language, then that's something that you might decide to learn. It's not something that everyone can learn, but you might be interested in doing that. Some people who are deaf can also lip read as well, but lip reading is something that's quite tiring for people to do, and it's not that reliable. So you shouldn't assume that someone's lip reading if they're deaf. I think if you know someone's deaf, and you say hello to them and they don't respond, then you can do things like you can write something down on a note on your phone and show them, that type of thing. And I suppose they'll often do the same thing to you, so that they wouldn't approach you without kind of knowing the best way of communicating with someone who isn't deaf.
Am I allowed to say someone with a disability is inspiring?
The classic inspirational thing. So it's not inspirational if a person with disability is out at McDonald's getting a burger.
Which is normally you on a Friday.
Sometimes. Like, it's not inspirational if someone's just, doing their job, or, taking the bins out, or going for a walk. I think, being inspirational means you're doing something quite out of the ordinary and very kind of special. So, if someone with disability is actually doing something that's legitimately inspiring, then yeah, I mean, you're welcome to say that. But again, if they're just doing something mundane and normal and everyday, then no, because the reason someone is saying that it's inspiring is because they're insinuating that a person with disability, can't normally do that, which, is a bit of a incorrect assumption to make. So yeah, save inspiring, save saying someone's inspiring for when they actually are, because the vast majority of times we're not really being very inspiring.
Just doing life.
Yep, everyday life.
That actually answered the question for me too.
There you go.
There you go, that was good.
Done, thank you.
What is wrong with the R word or spastic?
Yeah, so they're just, offensive, and they're mainly offensive to people with intellectual disabilities. They're used to marginalise people and, to make them feel less than. And so, yeah, they're just kind of slurs that you shouldn't use. And I think sometimes people say, oh, we don't mean it in that way, or we don't mean to cause offence. But sometimes you might not mean to do something, but you're still causing offence. So it's just better not to use the words at all. And yeah, I mean, for some people with disability, they, you can hear those words and be okay with it because you've got some kind of inbuilt resilience, but it doesn't mean you enjoy hearing those words. And, I know for many people, it can take a bit of time to actually get out of the habit of using those words and explaining things, by using those words. But, it's not a good habit to get into, so if you can try and unlearn, that's good. And yeah, again, using the analogy with the whole LGBTI community, everyone, or not everyone, but often people used to describe things as being gay, and that was kind of used as a bit of a flippant insult, but that's happening a lot less these days because, there's nothing wrong with being gay, and so it's not an insult, and people don't say it as much anymore, which is great. And then hopefully the same thing will happen with disability-related slurs. They'll become used less and less, and eventually they'll go away and be as inappropriate as other ones.
Just need to be aware of what you're saying, really, because there's always people around getting offended.
And try and get some more original insults. There are heaps of ones which don't actually marginalise groups of people that are equally fun to use and say.
Yeah, use your imagination.
Yep.
What do I do if I can't understand what a person with a disability is saying?
So if it's the first time they've said something and you didn't understand, you can say, can you please repeat that? Or I didn't catch that. And then the person will, obviously repeat it. I think that's a lot better than actually, pretending that you understood what someone said and then doing something which might be completely wrong. So, it's always better to check. If someone repeats something and you still don't understand what they're saying because they might have a speech impediment or something along those lines, then you can say, sorry, I'm having trouble understanding you. Is there any way we can, maybe we can write it down, or you can kind of suggest you can say something like, oh, did you say blah, blah, blah? And then the person can say yes or no. so kind of helping work out what they're saying. But yeah, I think it's, generally it's always better to kind of let someone know that you can't understand them, rather than just assume you know what they're saying and then maybe do something that's not correct. But if you do have lots of trouble, then you might get a pen and paper, or give them an iPad or a tablet to write something down, or present some choices and they can say yes or no to those choices, or again maybe get someone else to assist, who might be better at understanding what they're saying. So just
like a support worker.
Well, maybe, but depending on how good your ears are, I suppose.
True.
So I don't know, just check with the person and make sure that they know that you're having troubles, and you're trying your best to figure out what they're saying. And you can ask someone to rephrase what they said as well, because sometimes if someone just keeps repeating the same thing, you can keep getting stuck. But if you ask them to rephrase it, or talk a bit slower, that might be useful for you. So that's the end of the questions. I think it goes without saying, but obviously these are just my thoughts. I might be a bit of an expert in my own kind of life, but it doesn't mean that I'm an expert in everyone else's life. So other people have different opinions on this, and that's fine. But I think it's really important to always ask the other person, try and be respectful of them, and just treat people with disability as people. It sounds obvious, but don't try and be patronising. Don't try and be too awkward. Just treat people as people, because that's what they are, that's what we are. So that's pretty much the message, I suppose.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for making my coffee, Annie, and
no worries.
helping me and getting in front of the camera.
Was a bit nervous, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, it's quite nerve-wracking,
isn't
it, looking into a camera. But,
even though no one's there.
Yeah, but I'm sure someone's watching this, so
yeah,
your work will be appreciated. So thanks.
No worries.
All right. Oh yeah, if you haven't already, you can always like the video and subscribe to the channel, if you want, and that helps me make all of the nerves worthwhile, I suppose. So thanks. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Oscar, sit. Yum yum.